How is it going, everyone? It is Wednesday, January 17th. I did not know the date because I don't know what time is. But this is the video for today. So we're going to go over the market on a longer term or shorter term again, see how the day is looking. And then we're going to zoom in on some stocks for today. You'll see that TMUS is up on here looking very nice. Currently have a position in it. And we will get to reviewing the pick of yesterday and give a pick for today. So let's look at the market first over here. You can see that after testing this marginal new high, we came back down. We have a pullback over here to test the kind of halfway point of this candle. We're below a VWAP Q, below the 8 EMA, and we are kind of in a long bearish channel. So if I zoom out over here, it is going to look a little bit tiny. So let me try to increase the size a little bit. You can see we're kind of in this bearish channel here. Not perfect. Channels kind of change as you continue to draw through them. But if you keep it parallel over here, this is a pretty fair bearish channel. And we have been preserving that for the past 3 days. So that's kind of been the shorter term trend. We're still pretty high in our long-term bullish confidence. Our short-term bullish confidence should be a little bit lower just because we're not able to make those higher highs and higher lows. And we're a bit in a news vacuum over here. We got earnings coming out next week. We got some more material news, such as the FOMC coming out later in the month as well. So those news drivers that the market is pricing in for next year in terms of the rate cuts, in terms of the strong earnings growth. People and, more importantly, institutions are waiting for those news outlets and the source of information to release, because that's kind of that's what's been driving the market up over the seasonality and the holiday rally that we saw last year. So we need an update on those informations to see, get that next leg higher. In times like this, right, you want to kind of keep that big macro picture in perspective, right? Inflation's still coming down pretty well. The rate cuts, that front has not changed that much. Earnings is going to be good, expected for the rest of this year, according to analysts. No major financial crisis or credit crisis. So just keep those in mind when we see these pullbacks. This is just a normal part of a bullish rally, right? You're going to have big moves up, you're going to get pullbacks, and you can see the strength of this rally was so good because we didn't get very deep pullbacks. We had a couple of red candle days and then some compression and then the next leg higher. On a technical basis, you can see we're still above all the SMAs, and I kind of view this as just a digestion of this giant rally higher that we saw from end of October all the way to mid-December. We haven't sold off really hard. We haven't given away all the gains. We're still pretty much hugging the high of the year over here. So that is I view that as a bullish sign. And again, when those extra sort of next round of news in terms of the earnings, inflation reports, and FOMC news comes out, then we can see how the market reacts to that, and we can adjust our market bias accordingly. So where does it stand? Well, still very highly bullish on the long term, fairly, I'd say mildly bearish in the short term. And then if we zoom in on today, let's look at what happened today. So we had a pretty big gap down. China had, a little bit of weakness. It's had weakness like for basically forever. It's not really anything new. We had some chop candles over here, and we tried to stage a rally higher into the gap, but you can see kind of the weakness. It's pretty choppy, kind of 2 steps down, 3 steps up. In the end of the bull cycle here, we start to stall out. We can't advance. The sellers are pounding at this price. They want to get in. And we get that next move down where we break through VWAP, come back for the retest off the low of the day, right? And this green candle at 1 is like, all right, it's looking pretty nice. If we can build on it, we get a bearish engulf at 105, break through that low of the day, trigger some sell stops, right? So, and here's the thing that I saw that you might also notice. this day setup is pretty similar to what we saw yesterday, right? We had a little bit more bearish yesterday initially, but we had that move up to try to fill the gap. We break through the low of the day, trigger sell stops, and then we move back into the range. So you can tell that the range is established pretty early, and a break of the low of the day it's harder to be convinced of that because you're going against a longer term trend, and because you're kind of in this choppy bearish channel, right? Who's going to, when you reach the end of this channel here, it's, you could say, quote unquote, a little too aggressive on the shorter side here in the shorter term time frame. So we're going to get that move back on the bullish side because bulls want the market at the price. They like this price that they're getting. So I expected that this breakthrough would trigger some sell stops. You can see there's a little bit of follow through here, but then you get this big bullish engulfing candle at 150, and then the candle holds, right? We don't snap it back immediately. So that's sort of the tell. And then what I saw here, you get an LRSI cross, 1OP cross in a pretty deep negative territory here. That's a nice sign of the move higher. We got a nice candle here, held a little bit, breaking through VWAP. So if we can hold VWAP over here, we have a nice whole bearish cycle to work with, and LRSI is dilute to 1. We do have a chance of kind of staying in this range here. Nothing crazy. I don't think we're going to break the high of the day. We got about an hour, 15 minutes left. So, I'm not overly bullish, but I think the low of the day is in. I don't think we're going to challenge it very strong. And I think we'll just kind of finish the day around VWAP, just like yesterday. So most of the selling is really happening on the drop down, but we're finishing pretty close to where we started. Right. Once the market starts to go flat a little bit here, and then we get that stage up higher, that's when I can get a little bit more aggressive with my swing longs. So let's look at the pick from yesterday, which I believe was ELF. So here's a great tell of relative strength. All right, so nice. You can see here the market's going down, alpha's compressed, moved up higher. Today, it gapped down with the market, but not as much. Found some support early on and rallied. And then you can see in the second half of the day around 1140, market starts to tank and forms a new low of the day. Alpha starts to compress, it holds VWAP, and pretty much preserves all the gains from yesterday. Didn't really budge that much. So excellent relative strength. So if you're still in ELF, I would hold. Very, very steady stock over here, not too overly extended, and it should get that next leg higher once the market starts to find some support. Positions that I'm in right now. So let's go over with the put credit spreads first. We got Airbnb. You can see here it gapped down, and then it rallied up really strong today, right, from this 10 o'clock candle, and it rallied up pretty much way before, right when the market found a little bit of support and stopped going down, and it did not really budge when the market started to drop. Held this level, which is pretty much all of my supports of the PCS. My PCS is the 131, 130. So it tested that, and it sprung back up, and it's confirming this support. So I didn't like how it gapped down, but it confirmed the support really strongly today on a market that's down. So Airbnb is doing pretty well. Zoom, similar story, not as strong, but there's a ton of support in the way over here. It looks like Zoom has preserved a lot of its SMAs over here. I'd like to see it kind of stage another leg higher on this next market leg higher and break back into this gap. But not too worried about Zoom. A lot of times with the put credit spreads too, you may have to take some heat initially, especially the market's a little bit down. So I'm prepared to mentally take some heat on these trades, but I have time for my thesis to play out. Uber put credit spread, similar thing, but even better, rallied, and it's pretty much right at its high of the day, which I love to see. Same thing, tested that support early, found support at the 8 EMA, and it is compressing very, very well. Finally, NVIDIA, also preserving a lot of the gains from the prior candle. This is really far out of the gate, so I'm very confident that this is not going to expire in the money. All right, swings now. We got ramp. It's a ramp over here, pulling back with the market a little bit, but it's preserving the gains. You can see the volume is drying up, so the intraday price action is very illiquid. Lots of gaps, lots of non-movements here. The good thing is that the low volume, the pullback is on low volume, which is what we like to see, right? This is a high volume move from the 9th, 10th, 12th, all the way here. So it's finding some support, the 8 EMA, which it has found support before. And then once the market finds some support too, I'm confident that we'll get that next leg higher on ramp. So liking what I see there, not too worried. Spotify, we had a bid check today. And you can see that it has started to fill in. Still for a little bit of resistance at the high today, but it's responding very nicely on a market down day, and it confirmed this support. So closing right at its EMA. So that's what I like to see. I mentioned that I had resistance at around 192. So you can see at 192 was that original gap up from, I believe, some news regarding cost reductions here. And you can see it rallied way earlier before the market. So that's confirming that support at that level. Buyers like it at 192. And let's drop a horizontal line right here because we know that we like it at that level. And spot has some resistance right over here. Look, that's coming into play a little bit right now. Other swing here, AMD. AMD has managed to truck higher today, which is really nice. I really like what I'm seeing here. Really good volume today. Nice stack green candles. I would probably... It's a tough one because on the stock basis, I really like it and I would add it. My market confidence isn't super high, so you could probably justify a small add. So I might add... I probably wouldn't double it, but I might make it a 1.5 position on AMD based on my market confidence. And I liked the price action I'm seeing today. Didn't really drop with the market too much. And those are it for this. Oh, can't forget Amgen. Amgen is still compressing here a little bit. Pretty flat for the day. Wasn't great. Wasn't horrible. Just kind of holding this level here. So again, just giving it some time to digest those gains. And I'm going to drop a trend line alert right here. When it breaks through, we'll have a nice bullish flag. Could provide a nice point to add to the trade as well. All right, so picks for the day. There's a couple of ones that caught my fancy. The first one that I'm in here is TMUS. So I got it right here, entered at 1 o'clock on this bullish cross that we got on SPY, right? And you can see that it was a little bit of a fake out, SPY'd another leg over here. And had to trigger some self stops to get a little bit more of a sold before we went back into that range. Now I liked TMUS because it pretty much compressed at the high of the day the whole time. And, was brought down a little bit, found some support at the bottom of this level at VWAP, and then it managed to surge higher as soon as the market was able to find support. So I took it here, I added to the trade here, and then it was off to the races. So TMUS is really, really nice on the long side. Datadog was looking really well, but I didn't like this high plus trend line as much. You can see it kind of reacted to that and hasn't really quite recovered. BSX is also pretty nice. Really nice steady grinder over here. Surged up higher. Looks like it may have hit something here, kind of just compressing. So you would have liked it to see it go higher on this market rally. But this doesn't have, kind of the most dynamic intraday price action, but it just kind of slowly tends to grind up over time. So you probably wouldn't over worry about the intraday stuff you're seeing there. EBBV is nice. It's kind of compressing a lot after these gains. It has these big moves, compresses, big moves, compress. But I like what I'm seeing here. There is buying going on, but nothing compelling yet. So what you should do is set an alert right over here at this high of the Jan 10 candle. So if it can start to break through that high, then you have a nice entry point to get in on the trade. So those are looking pretty good. Another pick that was called out in the chat, Meta, was looking pretty nice. You can see it recovered this low over here, and now it's starting to make a new high of the day. If I look at Meta on an H1 basis, we're probably getting at that H1 cross in here. Yes, sometime pretty soon. That could be a nice swing entry point. You know, some people took a Meta put credit spread 355, 325, which I do. I get it. It's not something that I like as much personally. I think it depends. I think this is a pretty strong trend line over here that Meta is respecting. So I like this as support. I prefer to do something at least like in the SMA versus the 8 EMA in terms of support. So ideally like the 340 one would be nice, but given that earnings is pretty close, 340 is just too far to the money with that short date, so you can't really do much. But they were able to get a nice credit on Meta expiring next week, so a bit of a more aggressive put credit spread, but very, very justifiable. I think it's a very solid trade. And that is, I think, pretty much it. So, I mean, if I had to give a pick, it'd probably be TMUS, and we can break this down a little bit further before we stop the video. So why is TMUS so good? So first, very strong D1 stock, pretty steady price actions, but hugging the 8 EMA. Above all its moving averages. We have this high plus trend line coming into play over here, which I have some respect to, but I don't weight it as much over here. And the reason I don't weight it as much is because we are pretty strong rubbing up against it when the market's weak. So any sort of market push, we can easily break through that trend line. It has also been compressing while the market's moving down the past couple of days, which is very nice. So on a D1 chart, it's very strong. And on the M5 chart, you can see it was moving up when the market was flat, held the gains, was flat when the market was down, and then started moving up again to make a new high of the day when the market got a little bit of a bid. So the confidence in the stock is very, very high. I'm probably just going to keep this as a day trade because I don't want to add to my total swing exposure while the market is still moving down. I'll take the win here, but that is my pick for the day. So if it matches your swing criteria, you can swing it. And if it doesn't match your swing criteria, there's definitely some day trading opportunities today. If able to take it early in the day, you could feel confident holding during this pullback and take profits on the next leg higher. So that is it for today. TMUS is the pick, and I will see you all in the next video tomorrow.